What's up, my fellow peeps? Cadian here. In the many years since Power Rangers started, numerous seasons of its source footage, Super Sentai, have been adapted into the various seasons of Power Rangers, though not all of them have. In today's video, I'll be taking all the currently unadapted and finished series of Super Sentai after Kaitou Sentai Zenkaiger, and ranking them from least to most likely to be adapted. Now, none of the Sentai before Kiryu Sentai's Kyuranger, the basis of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, have been adapted into their own TV series either. Though while some of them did appear in Power Rangers Super Mega Force, and have appeared in MMPR Boom Studios comics, the chances of any of them getting a full TV series adaptation now are very unlikely, so I won't be including them here. And of course, it goes without saying that this list will be based on my opinions. As of the time of recording this video, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, or whatever the final title will be, hasn't been officially revealed. So if it does get revealed before this video goes up, so be it. And with Power Morphicon right around the corner, I thought this sort of video was in order. With all that being said, be sure to leave your rankings in the comments below, like, subscribe and share this video, support me via Patreon for £2 a month to see videos early, and now, let's begin. In 6th place, as I think the least likely to be adapted, is Kaitou Sentai Lupinranger vs Tokusatsu Sentai Patranger. The gimmicks for this series would also be the series' Zords, working with both the main transformation device and in Megazord combinations. I don't know how well Hasbro would be able to adapt that, especially taking the 6th Ranger's transformation device into account, which would be both a Zord and a Morpher simultaneously. And given how Hasbro's been with 6th Ranger changes, I'm just not sure really. Even if they did find a way to work all of that out though, the main reason for this season not being likely to be adapted is the fact that one of the teams is made up of cops. And given the tension with them in the US right now, yeah, I don't think this would work. In 5th place is the victorious imagination, Ressha Sentai ToQger. Now at least this time there is no tense theme for the team, and trains do seem like a rather interesting gimmick for a series of Power Rangers. We've had a few train-themed Megazords in the past, though never an entire team and set of Zords based on them. I don't know how well a train gimmick would sell, but the series could have an interesting story if given the right one. However, one of the downsides for this series being adapted is the fact that two of ToQger's villain suits, Baron Nero and Madame Noir, have already appeared in Power Rangers. The former with the exception of the head in Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel as Cosmo Royale, and the latter's entire suit as Void Queen in the 2nd season of Dino Fury. With technically two of ToQger's villains already in Power Rangers, I don't think it's entirely likely ToQger will be adapted. In 4th place are the 5 assembled, Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. The latest completed season of Sentai, it does pain me to put my favourite one outside of the top 3, but I have a good reason to put it here. Whenever I've seen this season being discussed for a Power Rangers adaptation, the one point I've almost always seen brought up for not adapting this series is the presence of the numbers on the helmet, which I have to agree wouldn't make much sense in an adaptation. Despite this though, 5 out of the 6 Rangers that do have this are based on Sentai that have been adapted. So if there's a good explanation for the number on the helmet, or it's removed altogether, it could work. There is of course the issue of 4 of the 5 main Rangers being based on Mecha, but I don't really think that's much of an issue, especially for what would probably be an anniversary series of Power Rangers. It'd be a rather unique team. Oh, and also Zenkaiger's Kyuranger base design does present problems for a Zenkaiger adaptation, being based on a pre-Zyuohger design and being in an anniversary season. I'm not sure how easy that would be to explain in an adaptation. Stacyzer and Hackaiser completely lack the 4-head number, though are based on unadapted pre-Zyuohger series of Sentai and the prototype of Sentai respectively, so they'd be fine. Those two being villains, I'd say could get away with not being based on anything from Power Rangers. A point of contention for this series being adapted I realised while preparing this video, and this will apply to another series later on, is that all of the monsters of the week share the same base suit as one of the grunt types, which I can't imagine Hasbro would be too keen on having in one of their shows. In 3rd place are the Ultimate Saviours, Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger. Fun fact about this one, a few years ago while Kyuranger was still airing, I came up with my own adaptation for this series called Power Rangers Astro Force. Let me know down in the comments if you want to hear me talk about it at all. Of all the unadapted Sentai, this is the one I think is most likely to be Cosmic Fury. Anyways, the huge number of gimmicks for this series would definitely be great for Hasbro. And another series set in outer space like In Space or Lost Galaxy would be great to see, especially since it's been nearly 23 years since the latter finished. Also, the ridiculous number of modes for the main weapon and the functionality of the Megazords would be interesting to see how Hasbro handled them, especially with the main Megazord. The big point against this series being adapted though is its sheer number of Rangers at 12. And given Kyuranger didn't handle the huge Ranger cast's character development very well, I'm not sure Hasbro would be able to handle it well either. Sure, they could cut the starting Ranger count down to 5 and only add the 6th Ranger later on, but that just wouldn't feel right. Arriving with a sparkle, the runner-up in second place is Mashin Sentai Kiramager. Now, I honestly think this series could work really well as a Power Rangers adaptation. Hasbro hasn't adapted any series with any non-animal based mecha yet, though unlike with Lupin or ToQger, there isn't really much against this series being adapted. Sure, there's the dinosaur-themed Smog Joki, but that's an evil mecha and the Hasbro era hasn't had any evil swords yet. It could make for an interesting part of the story in the series. I don't have any ideas for an adaptation of the story myself, but I just feel we could get something amazing out of it. The one thing that keeps this series from the top spot though is, like with Zenkaiger, the monsters of the week sharing the same base suits as the grunts, and I don't think Hasbro would want that. That aside though, I think Kiramager has a good chance of being adapted into Power Rangers. Before the number 1 spot though, I have an honourable mention for this list, being Avataro Sentai Donbrothers. Now, I did say I'd only include currently finished seasons of Super Sentai, that's why this one is only an honourable mention. I'm not entirely sure how likely this series is to be adapted, because of the team's basis on the Japanese folktale of Momotaro, which is something I'm not sure many people in the West are familiar with. And not to mention the 2 CG Rangers, though that could be easily got around with permanent physical suits. Additionally, like with Kiramager and Zenkaiger, the monsters of the week retain the undersuits, which, once again, is something I'm not sure would be ideal in a Power Rangers adaptation. And in regards to the gimmicks, their gears just like with Zenkaiger, so in my opinion, I don't think having such a similar gimmick for 2 different series of Power Rangers would work well, unless the Donbrothers adaptation were to be a sequel to the Zenkaiger adaptation, akin to their Sentai counterparts. But even then, I don't think that would work well. In first place, as I think the most likely to be adapted, is Doubutsu Sentai Zyuohger. I could easily imagine the Ranger suits in an adaptation, and given how Hasbro has already done 2 series with animal-themed Zords, this could definitely work out, especially with the 6th Ranger's free animal gimmick. And if they carry over Zero the World's evil introduction arc into the adaptation, that would be rather neat to see how Hasbro handles the story for that, along with the rest of the series. Now, the Zords for this series are cubes, but honestly they've got some neat designs, and so have the Megazord combinations, with the 6th Ranger's Megazord and the Battleizer's Megazord shaking up the design formula a bit. What pushed this series past Kiramager though as the most likely for a Power Rangers adaptation is the fact that all of the monster suits are unique and don't share undersuits, like all of Power Rangers has so far. For all those reasons, I think Doubutsu Sentai Zyuohger is the series of Super Sentai most likely to be adapted into Power Rangers. And that's the unadapted seasons of Super Sentai ranked in order of how likely they are to be adapted into Power Rangers. I hope you all enjoyed that. As I said in the intro, leave y'all's rankings down in the comments below, like, subscribe and share the video, and I'll see y'all Valley Peeps next time.